Hello and welcome to Idea Television News Update. I'm Adewale Olashopo. We begin with the headlines. Nigeria loses 90% of forest cover in 3 decades. Explosions at Calabar petrol stations injures residents. African Energy Group demand inclusion and threatens boycott. Tony ELUMELU Foundation selects 3,200 entrepreneurs for 2026 program. In health news, U.S. shifts to agreement-based medical aid in Africa. Business news, business group calls for stronger government support. Sport news, Nigeria beats Zimbabwe as Rwanda star sets T21 record. Away from Africa, Iran fires missile as U.S. and Israel strike nuclear sites. Greek banks face lending constraints despite recovery. Now the news in detail. The Nigeria Conservation Foundation has warned that Nigeria has lost nearly 90% of its forest cover over the past 30 years. The statement was issued today in Lagos to mark the International Day of Forest, highlighting the growing threat of deforestation to the country's environment and economy. The foundation said the loss is driven by illegal logging, agricultural expansion, and urbanization, alongside heavy reliance on fuel wood and charcoal for energy. It warned that forests remain critical for livelihoods, agriculture, and climate stability, yet are still undervalued in national development planning. The group is calling for urgent action, including stronger enforcement of environmental laws, increased investment in forest restoration, and sustainable land use practices. It also urged both government and private sector stakeholders to act quickly to prevent further economic and environmental consequences. A petrol and gas station explosion in Calabar in Cross River State has left several people injured and destroyed property in the area. The incident occurred this morning along Edibe Street in Calabar South, causing panic among residents in the densely populated neighborhood. Eyewitnesses say the blast occurred at a facility identified as Phonex gas station, where fuel storage tanks, vehicles, and nearby buildings were destroyed. Some victims received treatment at nearby medical shops, while others were taken to hospitals for further care. The explosion also led to looting by some individuals taking advantage of the chaos. Emergency response was reportedly delayed, with residents initially attempting to put out the fire themselves. Authorities say efforts are ongoing to determine the cause of the explosion, while security personnel have been deployed to restore order in the area. In other news, the African Energy Chamber has demanded greater African representation at the African Energy Summit scheduled to hold in London from May 12th to May 14th. The group raised concerns over what it described as a lack of African inclusion in the event's leadership and warned it may boycott the summit if its demands are not met. In a statement, the Chamber's Executive Chairman N.J. Ayuk said African professionals must be properly represented in global energy discussions, stressing that inclusion should go beyond rhetoric to actual participation in leadership, recruitment, and decision-making roles. He added that Africa-focused platforms must reflect the continent's interests and priorities in practice. The Chamber further argued that African stakeholders must have made significant contributions to the energy sector and should not be excluded from key industry platforms. It called on organizers and stakeholders to ensure fairness, inclusivity, and stronger participation of African professionals in shaping the future of the continent's energy industry. The Tony ELUMELU Foundation has selected 3,200 young entrepreneurs across Africa for its 2026 entrepreneurship program. The announcement was made on Saturday during a virtual meeting briefing where the foundation said the cohort marks a major step in supporting the continent's economic growth. The foundation's Chief Executive Officer Somachi Chris Aso Lucas said the selection reflects a strong focus on inclusivity with participants drawn from different regions and backgrounds. She added that the program will equip entrepreneurs with training in artificial intelligence and climate resilience to help them compete in a rapidly evolving global economy. She noted that participants will receive funding, mentorships, and access to a support network which has contributed to a high business survival rate among past beneficiaries. The foundation says the initiative is aimed at creating jobs, reducing poverty, and empowering a new generation of African business leaders. We'll go on a quick break now. The news continues when we return.
Augmented Connected Workforce. The Augmented Connected Workforce leverages remote collaboration tools, AI insights, and wearable devices to enhance productivity. This trend is especially relevant in the era of hybrid work models where teams need to collaborate from different locations. Tools like Zoom and Microsoft Teams have become essential for communication, while wearable tech monitors worker health and safety. However, companies must balance employee privacy with performance tracking to avoid ethical concerns. The workforce management tools market is forecasted to grow to $9.3 billion by 2026. There you have it, the 20 game-changing technology trends shaping the future as we speak.
Welcome. If you just joined in, this is Idea Television News Update. Now to the rest of the news. In health news, the United States is reshaping its health strategy in Africa by moving from traditional aid to agreements, partnerships known as Health Compact. These agreements are designed to outcomes from African countries committed to agreed healthcare targets in exchange for support. Assistance is delivered through structured agreements that may include funding for hospitals, disease control programs, digital healthcare systems, and workforce training. The approach aims to improve efficiency, accountability, and measurable impact in healthcare delivery across participating countries. However, the strategy has drawn criticism from some stakeholders who argue that such agreements could come with conditions affecting data control, resource access, and national policy decisions. The shift has sparked wider debate about the future of global health financing and the balance between partnership and influence in Africa's healthcare systems. Now to business news. The Abuja Chamber of Commerce and Industry has called on the Nigerian government to sustain support for businesses and introduce stronger policies to improve the ease of doing business. The call was made in a statement issued on Friday in Abuja by the Chamber's President, Chief Emeka Obergolu, during his Eid al-Fitr message to the business community. He said the government policies should focus on improving access to finance, strengthening infrastructure, and creating a more stable economic environment to help businesses grow. He added that Nigerian entrepreneurs have remained resilient despite economic challenges and urged them to continue embracing innovation, unity, and ethical practices. According to him, collaboration between the public and private sectors is key to driving economic stability, job creation, and national development. He also encouraged business owners to draw on values such as patience and discipline, as demonstrated during the Ramadan period, to build more sustainable enterprises. In sport news, Nigeria secured a commanding 8-wicket victory over Zimbabwe on Friday at the Nigeria Cricket Federation Women's Invitational Tournament in Lagos. The host bowled out Zimbabwe under 19 for 80 runs before comfortably chasing the target in just over 11 overs. The standout moment of the day, however, came from Rwanda's Fanny Uwagweshiminde, who made history by scoring an unbeaten 111 runs on her 2020 international debut. At 15 years and 223 days, she became the youngest and first female cricketer to achieve a century on debut in the format. Her performance guided Rwanda to a dominant win over Ghana, highlighting a strong start to the tournament. Matches continue as team competes for early advantage in the 5th edition of the competition. Now away from Africa. Tensions in the Middle East have escalated sharply after Iran fired ballistic missiles towards UK-US military base in Diego Garcia early today, while the United States and Israel carried out fresh strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities in Natanz. Iranian authorities said the strikes targeted key infrastructure at the Natanz site, while reports indicate the missile launched towards Diego Garcia did not hit their target. The development marked a significant expansion of the conflicts, raising concerns about the range of Iran's missile capabilities and the risk of further escalation. Meanwhile, the United States military says its operations have weakened Iran's ability to threaten international shipping, particularly around the Strait of Hormuz. Officials say key missile and radar facilities have been destroyed as efforts continue to limit Iran's regional military reach. Lastly, Greece is facing ongoing challenges in financing economic growth despite a strong recovery from its past financial crisis, according to economists linked to European Central Bank. The reports released today highlight that a large share of private debt remains outside the banking system, while Greek banks have returned to profitability and improved their financial stability. Many households and businesses remain unable to access loans. This is largely due to unresolved bank debts that were transferred to external loan servicing firms during reforms aimed at cleaning up bank service sheets. Economists warned that this unresolved debt, estimated to be equivalent to about one-third of the country's gross domestic product, continue to limit banks' ability to support investment and economic expansion, posing a key challenge for Greece's long-term growth. And that's all we have for you on Idea Television News Update. But before we go, here is a recap of the headlines. Nigeria loses 90% of forest cover in 3 decades. Explosion at Calabar petrol station injures residents. African Energy Group demands inclusion threatens boycott. Tony ELUMELU Foundation selects 3,200 entrepreneurs for 2026 program. In health news, we brought to you U.S. shifts to agreement-based medical aid in Africa. News business group calls for stronger government support. Sport news, Nigeria beats Zimbabwe as Rwanda star sets T20I record. Away from Africa, Iran fires missiles as US and Israel strike nuclear site. And lastly, today, Greek banks face lending constraints despite recovery. Well, do not forget to follow us across our social media platforms at Idea Television. I am Adewale Olashopo. Thank you for watching and see you at 9 p.m.